mine to teach the gospel. My original first talk, second talk, fourth talk, seventh talk, all had gospel principles. I apologize for what I'm going to present to you at this point. Norm was a great storyteller. Whether it was coaching in his family or at school, I worked hard to get him to make those stories all totally truthful. There's a lot of stories I could tell you about my brother Norm. Some definitely not appropriate here. But I could summarize in one statement about my brother and our relationship. In 76 years with Norm, following his example made me a better person. And I think all of us can relate to that. We had the blessing of growing up in Midway when there was less than 350 people here, almost fewer than the families out here. We knew everybody. You know, there were girls and Gertrudes, and not leaving anybody out, but in our immediate block, there was 12 young men, just a block from where we lived. The Pews and the Kellys and the Huffacres, the Provosts, the Nyes and the Kohlers and the Drapers, 12 of us that we didn't realize it at the time, but one of my friends that we had down at Lake Cow, this is the first time she threw it on me, and that was Jane Huffaker. She said, "You guys lived in the hood." And I guess that's kind of what it was like. We did live in the hood. We didn't realize it, but that's what we grew up. Norm entered life with a struggle. Many of you probably don't know this, but in 1939 there was not a lot of life support and whatnot that took place in the Heber City Hospital, and the doctors felt Norm was going to make it. From a loving mother, she wrapped Norm in blankets, placed him in a shoebox, put a light on him to keep him warm, and fed him through an eyedropper. And because of Norm's fortitude and strength of character, he pulled through. So struggle was not a new thing to my brother Norm. But he never complained. I had the blessing of spending a lot of time with Norm. And when people said, and looked at him sympathetically, "Norm, how you doing?" He always said 101%, and that was his answer. In my travels with him, taking him to dialysis in Utah counties and whatnot, Arlin and I had the blessing of doing that for a while. He said, and I thought it was an interesting statement, he said, "Bill," that was a name he gave me because he didn't like the name Arnold. A lot of my friends today only know me as Bill. In fact, nobody knows Arlin because when I order a takeout or something, I always say this is Bill, because they all mess up Arlin. He says, "Bill, I signed up for some pretty awesome trials, didn't I? Wasn't that I'm not satisfied with what's happening to me." He says, "I signed up for these." And him realizing that is what built the character in my brother Norm. particularly enjoyed and liked is when we got together in an extended period of time as a family. We would encourage both adults and children to memorize, and if they didn't memorize, at least share with us on a given night a piece of poetry. One of my fondest memories is sitting on the houseboat at Lake Powell in the dark, and Norm quoting one of his favorite pieces of poetry. A couple of times we had that experience with him. So I thought it'd be really cool, and I memorized that piece of poetry. And I thought I would share it with him over at the Abbey tonight, Sunday evening. I did that. And when I finished, Norm's response was, "Do you know much about the Kohlers?" I said, "Well, I hope I know quite a little bit about it." Norm was a historian, and I think he thought most of us didn't catch on. But he says, "The Kohlers, with our great-grandchildren, have lived in this valley for 7 generations." I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. He said, "Did you know much about our grandpa August?" I said, "Norm, I was 3 years old when August died." And he says, "Well, I was 6. And he says, "I remember it well." He says, "He was a handsome man. He was an honest man. He was dedicated to the church. He was a hard worker." And he says, as I grew a few years older, he says, my father, in talking about August Kohler, produced an old tattered wallet. And from that wallet, pulled a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, written in August's hand, was a piece of poetry. And the piece of poetry was called Good Timber. And Norm says, that's when I fell in love with that piece of poetry. He says, that's when I memorized it. That's when I quote that piece of poetry whenever I'm asked to. I came to learn Norm's life was a great parallel with that piece of poetry. It teaches a great lesson. And Norm was taught by that poetry from day one when he struggled as an infant to his final time here upon this earth. I'd like to share that piece of poetry with you, if my memory's any good. It's called Good Timber. And it goes something like this. The tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but lived out on the open plain and freely received the needed rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to gain his spot, to gain and plow his spot of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees, the further sky, the further light, the more the storm, the more the strain. By sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men, good timber grow. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both, and they hold counsel with the stars whose broken branches show the scars of many a storm and much of strife. This is the common law of life. My grandfather, August, understood that principle. My brother, Norm, totally understood that principle. Through his struggles, through his enduring, he gained great character. He gained an awesome testimony of Jesus Christ, personal testimony. My wife's going like this. I think that's the end of my conversation. Which is good. That's what I asked her to do. Norm became a giant, one of the patriarchs of the forest of men, and I thank him for the example. I know we belong to Christ's true church. I know Jesus Christ is our brother. I know we have a living prophet. How grateful I am for that. And I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.